Have you ever waded out into the ocean, felt the ground suddenly drop away beneath your feet, and felt a cold spike of panic? That sudden instinctual dread of the dark, unseen water below you is called thalassophobia. It is the primal human fear of deep water, of the crushing abyss, and of the things that swim in the darkness where our eyes cannot see. On Earth, our oceans are mysterious enough, hiding deep-sea trenches and bizarre, glowing predators. But when we look up at the stars, we tend to forget this fear. For decades, astronomers have been obsessed with a single driving mission in the cosmos: follow the water. We are desperate to find liquid water on other planets because we associate it with our own survival. We believe it is the ultimate beacon of life, a comforting oasis in a cold, dead universe. But what if we are completely wrong? What if water is actually the source of the most horrifying nightmares imaginable? What if finding an alien ocean doesn't mean finding a tropical second Earth, but instead plunging into terrifying, hostile abysses that defy human comprehension? Imagine entire worlds covered in oceans hundreds of kilometers deep, where sunlight has never penetrated the lower depths. Imagine the crushing, catastrophic pressure at the bottom of these alien seas. Imagine environments overflowing with deadly alien bacteria, toxic chemical stews, and perhaps gigantic, mythical alien creatures, true cosmic leviathans, lurking just beneath the surface of the black waves. Today, we are going to dive into the abyss. We are going to explore 8 deep space water worlds that are so hostile, so unimaginably deep, that astronomers are secretly afraid to explore them. A dive into any of these oceans would be a strictly one-way journey. Number 8. Kepler 62f, the Deceptive Abyss. Located roughly 1,200 light-years away from Earth in the constellation Lyra, there is a super-Earth known as Kepler 62f. It sits at the absolute frigid edge of its star's habitable zone, receiving only 41% of the stellar energy that our Earth receives from the Sun. Because of this freezing distance, every conventional climate model originally predicted that this world was locked in permanent, inescapable glaciation. Scientists assumed it was a lifeless ball of ice drifting through the cosmic cold, essentially a frozen tomb. But recent atmospheric modeling has shattered those comfortable assumptions, revealing a stunning and terrifying possibility. If Kepler 62f possesses an atmosphere with carbon dioxide levels just 3 to 5 times higher than Earth's, along with modest amounts of methane, the greenhouse effect would completely transform the planet. Instead of being frozen solid, it could sustain year-round liquid water. The ice would melt, revealing a temperate ocean world. Imagine floating on the surface of this world. There are no seasons, no ice ages, and no chaotic weather patterns to interrupt the long march of time. The climate would remain perfectly stable, locked in whatever state its atmosphere creates, for billions upon billions of years. What kind of biology develops in an unbroken, endless ocean that has been completely undisturbed for eons? Without mass extinction events to wipe the slate clean, what ancient colossal apex predators patrol those globally connected seas? The thought of diving into waters that have harbored uninterrupted evolutionary nightmares for billions of years is enough to make anyone stay firmly on dry land. Number 7. TOI 700d, the Twilight Sea. Just 101 light-years away from us orbits TOI 700d, an Earth-sized world circling a stable red dwarf star. But this planet hides a dark secret. Its orbit places it incredibly close to its star, meaning it is likely tidally locked. One side of the planet permanently faces the fiery glow of its sun in an eternal day, while the other side is cast into freezing, eternal darkness. Advanced climate models paint a picture of a world completely covered by ocean, with absolutely no exposed land to offer a safe haven. If you were dropped onto the day side of this planet, you would find yourself adrift in an endless global sea under a sky of perpetual, unbroken clouds. If you traveled to the Terminator line, the permanent boundary between the eternal day and the eternal night, you would find an environment where the temperature remains perfectly stable. Unlike Earth's chaotic climate, the conditions in this twilight zone could remain completely constant for billions of years. And beyond that line lies the pitch-black depths of the night side. In a world with a permanent, freezing dark side, what adaptations would marine life develop? You might find blind, massive entities navigating the freezing currents, waiting in the absolute blackness to consume whatever drifts over the twilight boundary. It is a world of perpetual dusk and hidden teeth. We don't even have to leave our own solar system to find a water world that induces pure dread. Jupiter's moon Europa is entirely encased in a shell of jagged, irradiated ice that is several miles thick. To the naked eye, it looks like a cracked, desolate wasteland of absolute zero. But beneath that heavily scarred, frozen crust lies a sprawling, sloshing saltwater ocean that contains more than twice the amount of liquid water found on all of Earth combined. This alien ocean is completely sealed off from the light of the sun. It is a world of eternal, crushing darkness. Down in the absolute black, the immense gravitational pull of Jupiter constantly stretches and squeezes the moon's rocky core, generating massive internal friction and heat. This heat likely erupts through violent hydrothermal vents at the very bottom of the sea, spewing boiling water and toxic chemicals directly into the freezing blackness. If life exists down there, it does not rely on sunlight. It feeds on chemical energy, sustained by the raw toxic bleeding of the moon's core. Imagine penetrating that kilometer-thick ice shell, plunging a tiny, fragile submarine into the dark waters, and shining a single floodlight out into the void. What if the beam catches the movement of a massive, pale, eyeless creature that has evolved in isolation since the dawn of our solar system? Down there, the pressure would crush a human instantly, but to these beasts, it is simply home. Number 5. Kepler 22b, the bottomless world. Let's travel 620 light-years away, back into deep space, to the constellation Cygnus. Here we find Kepler 22b, the very first confirmed habitable zone planet found orbiting a sun-like star. It is massive, with a radius 2.4 times larger than Earth. However, because it is so distant, we have no measurement of its actual mass, which leaves its true composition shrouded in terrifying mystery. The scientific possibilities are profoundly disturbing. Because we cannot determine its density, scientists propose that Kepler 22b might be a pure water world with minimal rock content. The entire planet could be covered by a global ocean that is hundreds of kilometers deep, with absolutely no land anywhere to be found. Hundreds of kilometers. For context, the deepest part of Earth's ocean, the Mariana Trench, is barely 11 kilometers deep. If you were dropped into the ocean of Kepler 22b, you would sink for hours. The light from its sun would quickly fade, replaced by a suffocating, heavy darkness. The weight of the water above you would increase exponentially until the sheer physical physics of water breaks down. At the bottom of this unfathomable sea, the pressure is so immensely catastrophic that water ceases to be a normal liquid. It compresses into bizarre, exotic high-pressure ice phases. There is no rocky seafloor to stand on, just a surreal, alien landscape of hot, crushing ice. These surface pressures could create conditions where life exists in perpetual deep-sea environments across the entire planet. It is the ultimate nightmare scenario, an ocean so deep that the water itself is crushed into solid walls, hiding biological terrors in an abyss that goes down forever. Number 4. Enceladus, the toxic geysers. Orbiting the majestic rings of Saturn is the moon Enceladus, a tiny, icy globe that initially appeared to be just another dead rock. But then, scientists made a horrifying and spectacular discovery. Massive geysers of liquid water are violently erupting from deep fractures at the moon's south pole, shooting at incredible speeds straight into the vacuum of space. This active venting proves that Enceladus holds a churning, highly active subsurface ocean. But this is not a serene, calm sea. The water here is believed to be a complex, violent stew of organic compounds, salt, and potentially deadly chemical reactions. The pressure driving these geysers is immense, forcing the subsurface water up through the moon's icy crust with catastrophic, explosive violence. Imagine the environment required to create these eruptions. Deep down at the seafloor, alien hydrothermal vents are boiling the ocean, creating a localized toxic chemical soup. If you were trapped in those dark currents, you wouldn't just drown, you would be boiled, chemically dissolved, and eventually violently ejected into the freezing void of space. What kind of extremophile bacteria or larger parasitic organisms thrive in a dark, boiling, toxic whirlpool? It is a biological battleground where every single element is perfectly designed to tear a human being apart. Number 3. K2-18b, the crushing Hycean hellscape. Located 124 light-years away, K2-18b is what scientists call a Hycean world. It sounds almost elegant. A planet with a thick, hydrogen-rich atmosphere sitting heavily over a vast global ocean. But the reality of this world is a vision of pure, inescapable horror. K2-18b is immense, roughly 8.6 times the mass of our Earth. Because of this size, the atmospheric pressure pushing down on its ocean could reach hundreds of times Earth's sea level pressure. If you bobbed on the surface of this endless sea, the sky above you would be thick and heavy with hydrogen, filtering the light from its red dwarf host star into a sickly, dim, reddish glow. The surface temperatures hover around 23 degrees Celsius, which is warm enough to keep the water comfortably liquid despite the crushing atmospheric weight. The ocean here might extend hundreds of kilometers deep, transitioning into those same terrifying, exotic, high-pressure ice phases at the bottom that don't exist naturally on Earth. But here is the part that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The James Webb Space Telescope recently analyzed the atmosphere of K2-18b and detected a molecular signature consistent with dimethyl sulfide. On Earth, this exact molecule is produced exclusively by biological processes, specifically by phytoplankton, the microscopic marine organisms that form the base of the ocean food chain. If this detection holds true, K2-18b is not an empty ocean. It is alive. The warm, dim waters are teeming with organisms. And if there is a base of the food chain like alien phytoplankton producing these gases, what is eating them? What colossal, terrifying marine predators swim through the dark, warm, crushing waters of this red-lit world? We are talking about creatures that should not exist, thriving under atmospheric weights that would crush human bones to dust. Number 2. Gliese 914b, the steaming plasma sea. Imagine water, but not as you know it. Gliese 1214b is a super-Earth located about 40 light-years away. Scientists believe it is essentially a gigantic planetary-scale drop of water floating in space. But there is a massive catch. It orbits incredibly close to its host star. The temperatures on this world are scorching, hovering around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You might logically wonder, how can there be a liquid ocean if the water is boiling? The answer lies in the crushing, inescapable gravity and the immense pressure of the planet's thick, steam-filled atmosphere. The atmospheric weight is so catastrophic that it actually prevents the water from boiling away into vapor. Instead, the ocean is compressed into a bizarre, supercritical state, a thick, glowing, highly pressurized plasma-like fluid that is neither a true liquid nor a true gas. If you were to somehow dive into this ocean, you wouldn't just be crushed by the pressure. You would be instantly incinerated by the water itself. It is a thick, hot, suffocating stew of exotic H2O, an ocean of boiling steam merging into hot ice. If anything manages to live in this steaming hellscape, its biology would be so fundamentally alien to our understanding of life that simply looking at it might break the human mind. Number 1. Ganymede, the ocean within the rock. We finish our terrifying journey back in our own cosmic backyard, with Jupiter's largest moon, Ganymede. It is the largest moon in the entire solar system, even bigger than the planet Mercury. But what makes Ganymede a source of deep space horror is its bizarre internal structure. Scientists believe Ganymede houses the largest ocean in the solar system. But it is not a normal ocean resting on a rock bed. It is believed to be structured like a club sandwich, made of alternating layers of solid ice and liquid water. Imagine drilling down through miles of rock-hard ice, finally breaking through to a dark, freezing ocean. You swim down into the blackness, expecting to hit the sea floor. Instead, you bump into another solid, impenetrable layer of ice. You drill through that layer and plunge into another hidden ocean, even deeper, even darker, and under even more horrifying pressure. This layered nightmare goes on for perhaps hundreds of miles. These are isolated pitch-black ecosystems sandwiched eternally between impenetrable walls of ice. Each distinct layer could harbor a completely different, closed-off biological environment. The creatures trapped in the lowest, deepest layers of water would be subjected to gravitational pressures and an eternity of absolute darkness that defy reason. If there are true Leviathans in our solar system, they are buried here, swimming blindly in a subterranean, multi-layered prison, waiting in the dark. Conclusion. As we stand on the safety of dry land and stare up at the night sky, we project our human hopes onto the stars. We look for water, desperate to find a reflection of our own blue planet. We want to believe that water means peace, life, and a future for humanity. But the universe is vast, uncaring, and profoundly dangerous. These deep space water worlds remind us that water is not always a sanctuary. Sometimes it is an abyss, a crushing, suffocating, pitch-black void filled with pressures that warp the laws of physics and potentially life forms that haunt our darkest nightmares. Are we truly ready to encounter what hides within these ocean worlds? If we ever manage to build a ship capable of crossing the stars, and we send a probe or a person into the depths of a Haitian world or the subterranean layers of an icy moon, will we be prepared for what looks back at us in the floodlights? Or is ignorance our only true safety? Perhaps it is better to stay on the shore and let the cosmic oceans keep their horrifying secrets.